Let's be honest, most people think predicting the exact score of a football match is a total long shot, basically pure luck. But what if I told you there's a way to turn that high-risk, high-reward bet into a real, actual strategy? Well, today, we're going to break down a masterclass in correct score betting. And this, right here, is exactly why it's so tempting. The correct score market is no doubt one of the toughest nuts to crack in football betting. But that potential for a massive payout, that's what keeps pulling us in. I mean, we've all been there, right? That feeling of being just one goal off from a huge win. It's brutal. So, here's the million-dollar question. How do we stop just gambling and start actually strategizing? That's what this is all about. We're going to unpack 4 specific tactics that can seriously increase your chances and help you make much smarter choices before you ever place that bet. Okay, let's dive right into our first tactic. And this one is all about avoiding the single biggest trap in correct score betting. So this slide right here, it busts a huge myth. It is so easy to look at 2 powerhouse defensive teams and think, yep, 0-0 deadlock. But the data tells a totally different story. A scoreless draw is incredibly rare. In fact, statistically, it's almost as unlikely as a crazy 5-1 blowout. So the main lesson here is pretty simple. Teams almost always find a way to score at least one goal. A winning strategy in this market means you're betting on something happening, not on nothing happening. It's all about the action.
Right, so if we're not betting on 0 goals, where exactly should we be putting our money? And that brings us perfectly to our second tactic.
The answer is right here, in what we'll call the sweet spot of the most frequent results. These 5 scorelines, you see? They are the absolute bread and butter of football matches. They happen way, way more often than anything else. And here's why that is so important. Just by focusing your predictions on these super common results, you can boost your chances of winning to at least 50%. I mean, think about that. That's a huge statistical advantage before you've even started looking at the teams.
Now, here's a little pro tip for a very specific scenario. Say you have 2 really evenly matched teams, and you're pretty sure it's going to be a low-scoring game, but you just can't decide who's going to win. A really smart play is to place opposite bets, like a small bet on a 1-0 home win and another small one on a 1-0 away win. It's a great way to cover your bases in those super tight matches. All right, on to tactic number 3. This one is all about discipline, and it's about avoiding the one mistake that ruins most bettors: good old greed. You know the temptation, creating a parlay where you combine a bunch of bets into one for a massive potential payout. It's huge. But the rule here is so simple. 1 correct score bet per ticket, period. Predicting 1 is tough enough. Trying to predict 2 on the same slip just nukes your odds. If you really want to boost that payout, don't add another risky bet. Instead, add a much safer market, like betting on over 2.5 total goals, or maybe even the total number of corners. You'll get better odds without the insane risk. Okay, our final tactic. This is the most analytical one, and it's all about using the bookmaker's own data against them, in a way. So think about it. Bookmakers put their lowest odds on the outcomes they believe are the most likely to happen. Your job is basically a 2-step mission. First, find those scores with the lesser odds. Second, check that against the team's recent match history. If the score the bookie thinks is likely lines up with how those teams have actually been playing lately, well, you've just found yourself a solid data-backed bet. So when you put all of this together, you can see these aren't just 4 random tips. They actually combine to create a powerful strategy that can turn a total shot in the dark into a really calculated play. So let's just run through it one last time. First, dodge that 0-0 trap by betting on action. Second, target the sweet spot of common scores to immediately boost your odds. Third, stay disciplined. Stick to single wagers, not risky parlays. And finally, use the bookmaker's own data by checking their odds against the team's real history. You see, correct score betting doesn't have to be a blind gamble. When you apply a little bit of discipline and a solid strategy, you can turn one of the riskiest markets out there into one of your sharpest tools. So the only question left is, are you going to keep gambling, or are you going to start playing with a tactic?